April 1943, high above France. German fighter pilot Ralph Hermican looked down at the American planes struggling to climb toward him. He actually laughed out loud. He radioed his wingman that the Americans had sent them flying milk bottles. These new American fighters looked ridiculous, like someone put wings on a barrel and called it a warplane. The Germans had been beating everyone since 1939. The British, the French, the Russians. These fat American planes, they'd be easy. The Germans were about to learn. They were dead wrong. See, those milk bottles each carried 8 50 caliber machine guns. When they fired together, they put out 100 bullets. Every single second, enough firepower to literally saw an airplane in half. Within 18 months, German pilots would wake up screaming from nightmares about those guns. Back in 1940, America was scared. German fighters were tearing through Europe like tissue paper. We needed something, anything, that could stop them. A Georgian immigrant named Alexander Kartveli, working at Republic Aviation on Long Island, had a crazy idea. Build the biggest, heaviest, most powerful single-engine fighter the world had ever seen. He admitted to his team that it would be a dinosaur, but a dinosaur that would win. The plane he designed broke every rule. Empty, it weighed 7 tons. The engine alone weighed more than an entire Japanese Zero. Test pilots took one look and wondered if this thing could actually fly. Not only did it fly, at high altitude, nothing could touch it. See, German planes were built for dogfighting, turning, twisting, dancing in the sky. The P-47 was built like America built everything. Bigger, stronger, and with overwhelming firepower. Those first months in combat were rough, real rough. Young American boys, fresh from training in Texas and Arizona, went up against German veterans who'd been fighting for 4 years. In the first month, we lost 14 planes, shot down 3 Germans. The British, flying their elegant Spitfires, suggested that maybe the Americans should reconsider their choice of aircraft. German ace Joseph Priller filed a report describing the American Thunderbolts as easy targets. He compared their flying to trucks and their turning ability to freight trains. But then, something strange started happening. June 26, 1943, the day that changed everything. Lieutenant Robert Johnson, a young kid from Oklahoma, got jumped by German fighters over France. In seconds, his P-47 was torn apart. 20-millimeter cannon shells exploded across his wings. The canopy shattered. The engine caught fire. Johnson tried to bail out. The canopy was jammed shut. A cannon shell had welded it closed. This 23-year-old American boy was trapped in a burning airplane, 5 miles up. But the Thunderbolt kept flying. Then it got worse. A German fighter found him limping home at barely 170 miles per hour. The German pilot pulled in behind and opened fire. Every cannon shell he had, then every machine gun bullet. Johnson could only crouch behind his armor plate and pray to God. When the German ran out of ammunition, he pulled up alongside Johnson's destroyed airplane. Johnson could see his face, young, blonde, confused. The German stared at this flying piece of Swiss cheese, shook his head in complete disbelief, gave a small salute, and flew away. Johnson made it home. The ground crew stopped counting bullet holes after 200. Word spread through both air forces like wildfire. The American milk bottle had taken everything Germany could dish out and survived. Our boys learned fast, real fast. Forget dogfighting. Forget trying to outturn the Germans. The P-47 had one incredible advantage. From high altitude, it could dive faster than anything else in the sky. 550 miles per hour, faster than any propeller plane should ever go. The tactic was beautiful in its simplicity. Climb to 30,000 feet, almost 6 miles up, where German engines wheezed and gasped for air. spot the enemy below, roll over, dive like a meteor, fire those 8 guns, zoom back up to safety. The Germans called it the Thunderbolt turkey shoot, and those 8 guns, my God, those guns. German fighters carried cannons. Powerful, yes, but limited ammunition. Maybe 10 seconds of firing tops. The Thunderbolt carried 3,400 rounds. It could fire continuously for 30 seconds, half a minute of pure, concentrated death. When all 8 guns fired together, they created what pilots called the wall of lead. Everything in a 6-foot circle just disappeared. Colonel Gabby Gabreski, who shot down 28 German planes, described how the overwhelming firepower didn't just make enemy aircraft fall from the sky. They would explode. He witnessed German fighters being literally cut in half by the concentrated fire. The tail section would separate from the nose. The pilots never had time to react. October 8, 1943. Hans Philipp, one of Germany's greatest aces, over 200 victories, learned the hard way about fighting at altitude. At 28,000 feet, his fighter was struggling, gasping for oxygen. The Thunderbolts above him? Their supercharged engines were purring like kittens. Robert Johnson, the same kid who'd survived being shot to pieces months earlier, dove on Philipp from 30,000 feet. 3 seconds of those 8 guns. Germany's super ace was gone, just gone. The message was clear. Above 25,000 feet, America owned the sky. January 1944, new Thunderbolts arrived with propellers 13 feet across, blades like giant paddles that bit into the thin air. The sound was terrifying. Those blade tips broke the sound barrier, creating a deep roar you could hear for miles. German soldiers called it Donnerschlag, thunderclap. One German soldier wrote home to his wife about hearing that distinctive sound. He described having only seconds to find cover before death arrived from above. D-Day, June 6, 1944. 500 Thunderbolts owned the sky over Normandy. The Germans sent everything they had. Only 3 German fighters even reached the beaches. One survivor described it as trying to attack through a wall of steel. Thunderbolts were stacked from sea level to the clouds. After D-Day, those P-47s became something even more terrifying. Flying artillery. Each plane could carry 3,000 pounds of bombs, plus rockets, plus those 8 guns. In 1 month, just 1 month, Thunderbolts destroyed 650 locomotives, 4,000 trucks, 500 tanks. The German army could only move at night. Daylight meant death from above. When Germany unveiled their jet fighters in late '44, the Me-262, flying at 540 miles per hour, they thought they'd found the answer. They were wrong. P-47 pilots learned to catch the jets during takeoff and landing when they were vulnerable, or they'd dive from extreme altitude, building enough speed to catch even a jet. Lieutenant Colonel John Meyer became the first to shoot down a jet with a P-47. His combat report noted simply that the enemy aircraft disintegrated under fire and the pilot did not escape. Here's what really won the war. Republic Aviation built 15,683 Thunderbolts. At peak production, they rolled out one every hour, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Women who'd never seen an airplane before Pearl Harbor were building these complex machines. 65,000 parts, 8 miles of wire, every piece perfect. When Germans destroyed our planes on the ground, we replaced them in days. When we lost pilots, 10 more were already trained and ready. A captured German pilot shown a field of burning Thunderbolts taunted an American commander about the destruction. The commander pointed to fresh planes already arriving and asked the German how long it would take to replace their lost pilots. The German's expression changed. He understood. Germany wasn't fighting planes. They were fighting the entire industrial might of America. March 1945. Joseph Priller, the same pilot who'd mocked our planes 2 years earlier, gave his final assessment. He described the Thunderbolt as the best fighter bomber ever built. But he explained it wasn't just the plane that beat them. It was what it represented. Unlimited American production. When Americans lost 10 planes, they built 20. When Germans lost one, it was gone forever. He admitted that they had laughed at the American fighters in 1943. By 1945, nobody was laughing anymore. The sound of those 8 guns meant death had arrived, and it spoke with an American accent. The final numbers are staggering. Thunderbolts destroyed 7,000 German aircraft, 9,000 locomotives, 86,000 railway cars, 68,000 trucks, 6,000 tanks. They flew 213,000 combat missions, dropped 120,000 tons of bombs, fired 135 million rounds of ammunition. Today, at the Air Force Museum in Dayton, Ohio, a restored P-47 sits quietly. Below it, a simple description from an unnamed German veteran explains how they first laughed at these fat, ugly American fighters. They stopped laughing when they realized the planes didn't need to be pretty. They just needed to point those guns, and their targets ceased to exist. The P-47 Thunderbolt entered the war as a joke. It ended the war as a legend. German pilots laughed in April 1943. By May 1945, there were no German pilots left to laugh. The thunder had spoken, and the sky belonged to America.